Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Conversations. I am your host, Colin McDermott. It's truly a privilege to join you guys this evening. It's another beautiful Monday. The beginning of another week, and so it's appreciative to be alive. One first and foremost, thank God for life that we have, to be able to see another week, to be able to withstand through all of the that has been taking place this year. 2021 has been crazy, but we thank God for what He is doing and that He's keeping us. I hope everybody was able to enjoy their Thanksgiving. I know I enjoyed it. It was a good time to spend with family. Good a time to get some good food. It was a good time to be able to enjoy just time to relax and spend time with your family, catch up, do some fun things. And so I hope everybody was able to enjoy their Thanksgiving. Thank you so much again for tuning in. I appreciate every single person that takes the time to join me every Monday, that takes the time to help me to get my message out, right? Ultimately, the purpose of this is to help leaders to recognize who they are as leaders, their abilities, their potential, and be able to tap into that potential and be able to step into the challenge, right? This is a new year. This is a new time that we're in. It's different for everybody. It's a time that is been challenging, but it's been something that has been an opportunity for growth. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like 2021 was a year for growth as well as 2020, and I think that we've all been able to grow and recognize or even see how strong that we are and what we're capable of throughout this time of a pandemic, right? To be able to recognize the things that we haven't been paying attention to. We have skill sets and we have abilities that we have not been able to tap into because we've been caught up with the hustle and bustle of everyday life. And so to be able to take a moment with 2020 hitting and 2021 to really recognize that we have the ability and the skills to be able to do greater things. And so I hope these lessons, these conversations that we've been discussing has been helpful to you. I hope that you've been able to get something from it. It's truly been something that's been helpful to me. We've been talking about various top leadership topics, talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of leadership, but really recognizing how to navigate through the challenges, right? We as leaders, we're navigators. We're navigating through the challenges. We're navigating through the good weather and the bad weather, and we're ultimately steering into the direction of what we call purpose. And so hope you're able to get something from it. Thank you so much for your time and your joining me. We're continuing our conversation tonight. We're continuing the conversation about the voices in our head, right? It's important that we understand and recognize the voices that we've been dealing with, right? And take the time to acknowledge the fact and define what those voices are and to be able to come up with strategies to overcome them, right? So, how many have been enjoying this particular topic that we've been talking about, the voices in my head? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Do you been talking? How many of you been able to get something from these conversations, these topics that we've been talking about? It's important that we recognize and we understand that when it comes to the challenges of everyday life and the voices that we've been battling with, being able to develop the skills and the abilities and the strategies to overcome those voices. And so that's one thing that I want us to get in our heads, because I believe that when we want to go into 2022 strong, right? We want to be able to go into 2022 with selective hearing. And so we've been talking about and identifying the voices that have been speaking to us. We've been identifying some of the challenges that come with those voices, whether it's a voice from our past, whether it's hindrances, whether it's childhood trauma. We've been dealing with these things and talking about it because it's important that we recognize that these things have been working behind the scenes our entire lives. It's been behind the scenes dictating our actions, dictating our decisions. And so now we're taking the power back, right? I'm making sure to put an emphasis that we're taking our power back. We're taking the influence back from these things, and we're being putting ourselves in position to tap into the positive influences. And so I want us to be able to not only recognize them, but figure out strategies to overcome them, figure out ways to grow from them. As I always say, it's not about right or wrong at this point in our lives. It's about maturing and how we can grow. And so I really appreciate the feedback. I appreciate your comments and your likes and your shares. Go ahead and like, share. I see you tagging people. Thank you so much for tagging others. It's important that we let people know that there are strategies and tools that are available to help us to become strong leaders, right? I was so blessed this week by a dear friend of mine, Minister Cindy, who was ministering yesterday, and she said that she's been learning so much from these conversations, and it's helped her in her job and in her daily routines. And it was such a blessing to hear that, because sometimes you wonder if people are understanding, or if you're being effective, or if you're having an impact. And so to hear her share that was such a powerful thing. She told us that she confesses that she's a strong leader, and when she's on her job, she takes those leadership roles that's to be able to get the job done and to get the respect of those that she works with. So I appreciated that so much. So let's jump right into it. We're going to continue the conversations about the voices in my head. The voices in my head. This has organically grown into a series that has been something that has helped me as an individual to grow, helped me as a leader to grow and to develop, and to be able to develop the right strategies. And so we've been talking in depth, right, about how to identify the voices that have been influencing us, right? That's been speaking to us throughout our lives. And we've been discussing how to recognize what they're saying, what's speaking to us, why they're speaking to us, when they're speaking to us, and to be able to acknowledge and recognize how they are affecting our decision-making abilities, and how they are affecting the trajectory of our lives, right? And like I said, I want us to go into 2022 with selective hearing. I want us to be able to develop selective hearing, where we know how to selectively hear the voices of positivity, to hear the voice of God, to hear the voice of purpose, and to tune out the negative voices. And so we've been identifying these things. We've been recognizing, we've been pinpointing what is rejection, what is depression, what is doubt, what has been fear, what has been past hurt, all these things that have been speaking to us. And now how do we step into the newness? How do we step into 2022 with selective hearing, where we only hear the right, we only hear the positive, we only hear what God has speaking concerning our lives, we only hear the positive aspects of ourselves, because we tend to be the most critical. We tend to be the most critical of ourselves than we are of others. And so sometimes people will judge us and people will criticize us, but it won't be as bad as how we criticize and how we judge ourselves. And so for the next few weeks, I want us to discuss how to overcome these voices, right? We used the last few months to identify what those voices are, how they speak to us, how they influence us, how they affect us. Now for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about how to overcome them. So I'm excited because we're going to be bringing on different guests. I'm going to be bringing on different guests that's going to be able to give us some insight, that's going to be able to give us some information, that's going to be able to give us some strategies that we can adopt, that we can adapt and implement into our own everyday lives, right? We want to be able to develop the proper strategies, develop the right skill set. We want to be able to grow with intentionality and ultimately develop the discipline to tune out the negative and magnify the positive. And so I'm excited because starting next week, my beautiful wife, Asha McDermott, is going to join me She is not just a loving wife and a great mother and a minister. She's a prophet. She's a life coach. She's a CBT certified coach. So a lot of things that I've been discussing about the voices, right? She has a bit of expertise in what we call cognitive behavioral theory. So all of these things that we've been talking about, negative self-talk, limiting beliefs, all of these things, she's a certified trainer and certified coach in that area. And so I'm excited because she's going to join me next week. So let your friends know, let your family members know next week. You don't want to miss out, because she has developed a unique strategy and a unique style of combining the CBT with the prophetic. And so many of you tune into her lives on Wednesdays, and she shares just a small bit of her expertise. And so I wanted to come next week to share some of her expertise, give us some of the strategies and some of the tips that we can use, both from the prophetic side and from the CBT side. And so, like I said, next week, let somebody know that they have to be here, that they have to hear this awesome woman of God, hear what she has to say, because these things that we're talking about is going to enhance our leadership, and it's going to help us to grow so that when 2021 hits, we can hit the ground running. So I'm excited that for that. Like, again, next week Monday, let somebody know that they don't want to miss out. All right. So let's talk about some of the strategies. And I purposefully titled this particular topic, "Can I talk to you?" Right? Can I talk to you? Because we all need strategies. We all need to develop different strategies and different tools to help us to ultimately grow as leaders, and to help us to overcome the challenges of the voices in our head. We all hear voices. We all hear things that are telling us in our minds that the negative that tries to keep us limited. It's about developing intentionality and about building the discipline, developing the habits, right? Developing the unique habits to be able to overcome those challenges. Right? What do you should be able to develop the discipline and develop the habit that whenever doubt starts to speak, you already know how to attack it. When fear starts to speak, you know how to attack it. When rejection starts to speak, when the fear of failure starts to speak to us, now we can develop the discipline and the strategies to be able to automatically respond to it. One thing that I've learned about this leadership development and about growth, the growth mindset, is that when you develop the discipline, it forms the habits. And when you form the habits, they kick in automatically after a while. Just like when you wake up, you automatically know to brush your teeth. There are some things that you have to keep practicing until it becomes a habit, and then it becomes an automatic behavior. And when it becomes an automatic behavior, you respond to the attack without even needing to apply effort, right? So when you develop a habit and it becomes an automatic, you already know that, all right, when this starts to speak to us, when fear starts to speak to us, we already know how to pull it down. We already know how to combat it. And it becomes such an automatic response that we don't even hear the voices anymore. That's the place that I wanted to get to, that place of automaticity. Forgive me, I'm messing that up. Automaticity, where it's an automatic response, so that you ultimately don't hear the voices anymore, but you can be able to react and respond in a natural way. And so one of the things that we have as Christian leaders is the unique ability and the unique privilege to go to God in prayer, right? That's one of the key things that we have. One of the important tools that we have is that we can go to God in prayer. Prayer is such an important tool that we need as leaders, because It's important because it gives us the access that we need, right? It gives us the access to a God who is our creator, but not only a creator, he's the master visionary, he's the master vision builder, he's a father, he's a friend, he's a confidant, he's someone that we can always go to get the help that we need, right? We have that ability to go to him in prayer, knowing that he'll give us a response, he'll give us the answers, he'll give us the strength that we need to combat, right? So that's an important aspect that we have. When we look at and examine the lives of every prominent biblical leader, right? You think about Abraham, you think about Moses, you think about Jesus, you see a blueprint of how leaders ought to act and how they can be more effective when they have a strong relationship with God. One of the scriptures that I always kept with me and I've always confessed and always worked towards is that before Jesus started his ministry, the Bible says that he grew in stature and he grew in favor with man and with God. And so when you have a strong relationship with God, it ultimately leads you to be a strong leader. So, of course, you need to talk to God about the voices. So, I want to touch that a little bit, but I'm going to leave it. I'm going to stick it. I want you to stick a pin in it. Stick a pin in that because I'm bringing on someone at a later date who's going to be able to give us a more in-depth understanding of how to act and how to respond to the voices in our heads through prayer. So that's another speaker that I'm excited that's going to come on and give us some great insight. So stay tuned for that. Right? So we always need to talk to God. That's first and foremost. That's the ultimate strategy, the ultimate tool that will help us to overcome the voices that are in our head. But there's something that's so important and that's key that every leader absolutely needs. One thing that every leader absolutely needs is a confidant. So our title today's message or today's conversation, Can I Talk to You? Because we all need somebody to talk to. We all need someone that we can talk to about the voices in our head, someone that we can talk to them and express what the voices are telling us without them looking at us crazy. Right? You think about it and you say that you talk about the voices in your head, and someone who is not close to you, who doesn't have a relationship with you, will give you the side eye. We are in a time and in a world where everyone is quick to judge and quick to find fault. And so you try to talk to somebody you don't know about the voices in your head, they will look at you like you're crazy. They will look to get you a straitjacket. They will try to get you institutionalized. They will ask you if you took medication. But if you have someone that you can trust, someone who is a confidant, you can be able to talk to them about the voices that are in your head and not feel ostracized, not feel judged, not feel like you're being criticized. So, can I talk to you? We all need somebody to talk to. Everybody needs somebody. One of the things that I've come to realize is that we as human beings, we are not created to be independent. We're created to be interdependent. We all need somebody. We are social beings. And so everybody needs someone that they can connect to, right? It's the natural instinct of mankind to find someone of their kind, right? Mankind, we're always looking for someone that we can connect with, someone we can identify with, someone that we can be able to establish a relationship with. When you think about it, everyone is always looking for someone to connect to, right? For those of you that are from the Caribbean, right? If you're from Jamaica, or you're from Guyana, or you're from another country, right? When you come to America and you meet someone who is of the same from the same country, you instantly have a connection, right? If you're from the Bronx or you're from New York and you go to some place like California, go to some place like Florida, and you meet someone who is from New York, you instantly have a connection because you have something that you have a common ground that you can identify with that individual. So as human beings, as people, we all need someone to connect to. We all need someone that we can trust. We all need somebody. And so one of the key strategies that we can do to help us overcome the voices in our head is to connect with someone who we can trust and be confident with. Someone who is a confidant that you can be able to trust with your feelings, who you can be able to be vulnerable with. And we touched on that last week, right? The difference between about being able to be vulnerable and being vulnerable with the right people. A lot of times we make the mistake of being vulnerable when we should be transparent. And transparency and vulnerability are two different things. Vulnerability is you can only be vulnerable with the people that have the capacity to handle your wounds. And too many people fall into situations where they're betrayed, where they lose trust in another person because they tried to be vulnerable with them when that person couldn't handle it. See, not everybody can handle your vulnerability. Not everybody can handle your transparency either, but for the most part, the most dangerous is mixing transparency with vulnerability. You can only be transparent with people who you're okay with seeing your scars. After you're already healed, after you're already you're no longer in danger of infection. Only those that you can show your scars to. Those are the ones that you can be transparent with. But if you try to be vulnerable with someone who can't handle it, they will cause more damage. They will cause your wounds to get infected. And so you want to be careful of who you are vulnerable with versus who you're transparent with. So we all need somebody. We all need a confidant. We all need someone that we can be able to express ourselves without fear of being judged. One of the things that we have to recognize that as leaders is that we face a great challenge of being always having to be strong, right? When we talk about leadership is important. Leadership is serving and servanthood. And so we're always looking for ways to serve. We're always looking for ways to help. And a lot of times we fall into the trap of trying to be the hero. We fall into the trap of trying to be the superhero. We always have to be strong and we have to always be available for those that we're leading. Now, as leaders, it's a huge aspect of our leadership, right? You got to be able to be available. You have to be able to give your ear to hear other people's problems. You have to be one to offer wise counsel. You have to be the one to be a problem solver. As leaders, we have to be problem solvers. And so sometimes you face the challenge of always being that, always being strong for everybody, always hearing everybody's problems, always listening, always offering advice, always being a support. And it puts us in a position where we are ignoring our own voices. See, the thing about leadership is that you have to sometimes ignore your own problems and your own troubles to help others, right? You have to be the one to deal with your own problems while trying to help somebody else deal with their problems. And what I've come to realize is that just because we are helping others deal with their voices, it doesn't mean that our voices go away. right? Just because you help Jane out, right? You help Jane to fight through self-doubt, you help Jane to fight through fear. It doesn't automatically mean that your self-doubt and your fear goes away. More oftentimes when you're while more oftentimes than not, while you're helping an individual deal with their voices, your voices are speaking at the same time. So while you're trying to be encouraging, while you're trying to be inspiring to others, the voices are speaking to you, and you're putting your best effort to push the voices to the back of your mind so that you can be able to help somebody else with their voices. We are all dealing with voices in our heads. We're all dealing with voices that are speaking to us and telling us different things, giving us different information. And you as the leader are not absolved of that. And what people don't understand or recognize is that leaders have problems too. Leaders have struggles too. Leaders have issues too. But as a leader, you don't have the opportunity to be vulnerable with the people that you're leading. You don't have the opportunity to share your voices with them because you're helping them with their voices. And it would be amazing if when you become a leader, you didn't have problems, that helping others with their problems would be enough to solve your problems, right? That would be, everybody would be amazing leaders if we had that capability. That let me help you deal with your issue, and in helping you deal with your issue, it'll help me deal with my issue. But the unfortunate fact of the matter is that's not the case. That's not the case. And we as leaders, you have to push past and push through our own voices to help others with their voices, right? I'm here teaching and talking about voices. I have to push through the voices in my head to get to share these things with you, right? I have to be wondering, hey, is anybody getting anything? Is this helpful? Is this working? Do I sound crazy? Right? Do I sound crazy talking about voices in the head? So we all have to push through our voices to help someone else. And so even though you may help others, it doesn't make your problems go away. It doesn't make your issues go away. But the thing is, after a while, you get tired, right? You get tired from ignoring your voices. You get fatigued from always being available. You get tired of always helping others with their problems when your problems don't go away. Come on, let's talk about it. Because sometimes you'll help somebody with their problems, and you help somebody to find a solution. And it's so much easier to encourage and advise and give wise counsel to everyone else except yourself. Because for some reason, it feels like the very advice that you give to others just isn't working for you. Why is that? Because the voices the voices in our head is telling us, I know that. The voices in our head is telling us, well, we know that already. And somehow it will sometimes convince us that it doesn't work for us, that it'll work for everybody else except us. And so we all need someone to be there for us. We all need someone to do for us what we do for others. I was listening to TD Jakes, and he was preaching, and he was teaching on being on ministering, and he said something that's so powerful and so impactful, that when you are preaching or you are ministering or you are encouraging someone, you leave discouraged because you're emptying out that encouragement to others. And so if you're pouring out encouragement, ultimately you're going to leave empty and leave discouraged. And so we all need someone to be that for us that we are to other people. Because as much as we want us to be like David and encourage ourselves, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes trying to encourage yourself, as David did, just doesn't work out. And so we all need somebody that can be able to do what we do for us, what we do for others. And so we all need a confidant. One of the challenges that we face as leaders is that you have to deal with feeling overworked and underappreciated. Most leaders will tell you that they feel that they're overworked and underappreciated because it seems like as much as you are giving out of yourself, you're not getting back. And one of the ways to overcome that or to get through that particular feeling or that particular challenge is to have someone who is close to you, someone that is in your people that are in your circle that can be able to encourage you, to pour into you, to lift you up, to give you strength, to help you silence your own voices. So leaders have to have somebody. I know a lot of people, you feel like you don't need anybody. I know a lot of us, we feel like I could do it all by myself, just me and Jesus, which is great. But every now and again, you need somebody around you that's going to be able to help you. Right? The more that we are the more united we are, the stronger we are, right? We always quote the scripture that one shall put 1,000 to flight, two shall put 10,000. Right? There's power in having somebody. There's power in being connected to somebody that will multiply your strength. Right? And so we all need a confidant. We all need somebody that we can trust, that we can be able to open up to, that can be able to help us deal with the voices in our head. So why do we need a confidant? Right? I gave you a few examples, a few reasons why we need a confidant. One of the most important things is that we need somebody who is going to be there to encourage us and give us wise counsel. Right? We need someone that's going to be there to encourage us, give us wise counsel, that's going to be there to hear us out, right? Pastor Letitia, you're so right. She says the battle of voices is real, especially when you're a natural encourager. That is an absolute fact, because being the one to encourage others will often leave you depleted and feeling discouraged. And so you need somebody, back to what I'm saying, you need somebody who's going to be there to encourage you, who's going to be able to give you advice, who's going to be able to give you wise counsel, right? You need someone that you can feel safe around, right? Someone that's not going to judge you because of what the voices are telling you. Someone that's not going to judge you because you're listening and entertaining those voices. Because some people, you'll entertain, and I think we have to understand that we are humans, and people forget the fact that leaders are humans as well. And so people will judge you and make you feel, well, aren't you a leader? Why are you entertaining those voices? If you're an encourager, why are you entertaining the voice of discouragement? If you're leading and you're a visionary, why are you entertaining fear and doubt? But just because you're leading in those areas doesn't mean that you don't deal with the same struggles. And so you need someone that you can be safe around, that's not going to judge you. You need someone that you can be able to take your cape off around, right? Sometimes people look at you, they have these expectations of you of being this superhero and this invincible being that is able to overcome everything, right? Especially when it comes to ministry. They think that because you preach and you teach that you're able to overcome everything. Because you pray that you're able to overcome everything, right? You're the person that I can call to pray for me. So why would you need prayer, right? People think that the people have the gift of intercession, the gift of prayer. The ones who always are making themselves available to pray, that they think that they themselves don't need prayer. Right? People will put these expectations on you. They expect you to always be a Superman, to always have on a cape and to always have on a mask, right? But you need someone that you can be able to take your cape off around, someone that you can be able to take your armor off around, right? Without worrying about them looking at you funny, without worrying about them trying to stab you, without worrying about them trying to take advantage of you. We all need that. Somebody that we can be open and honest with about what we're dealing with. And so we all need somebody that can be able to help us in those areas. Another reason why we need a confidant. Another reason why we need a confidant is because you need somebody to talk to out loud about the voices and what the voices are saying. See, many of us, we battle and we deal with the voices internally. We deal with the voices internally. We have conversations and we have conferences with these voices, and ultimately they overpower us. And sometimes you need to talk out loud about or have the conversation out loud, because sometimes when you have the conversation out loud, you start to realize how ridiculous those voices sound, right? You'll be battling in your head, and in your mind, everything that you're talking about makes sense. Yeah, I don't have enough money. Yeah, I'm not smart enough. Yeah, I don't have this. I don't have that. Yeah, I don't have the education. Yeah, I don't have the right job. Yeah, I don't, my finances are in the right place. Yeah, I don't know much in this area. And in your mind, you'll go down the rabbit tunnel and you'll have these conferences with doubt and fear and rejection and all of these things. And by the end of the conversation, by the end of the conference, you decide that you're not going to move forward. But then when you speak to someone, one of two things will happen. When you speak to a confidant, one of two things will happen. Either you will recognize how ridiculous this conversation has been when you say it out loud, or that confidant will help you to realize how ridiculous this conversation is. What do you mean you don't have enough education? You have a bachelor's degree. What do you mean you don't have the right job, the right experience? You've been doing this for years. I remember I was struggling with starting Keen Vision Leadership, and I was like, I don't feel like I am qualified to teach on and talk on leadership. And it was a conversation I was having in my head for months. And I had a conversation with my wife, and I just started, venting and sharing with her the conversation that I've been having in my head about not being able to do it. And she had to let me know, but you've been doing this for years. You've been coaching your students for 8 years. You've been coaching college students. You've been counseling college students. You've been helping them to decide on and helping them to decide on their future, helping them to build their own vision. And it took her saying that to me to realize how dumb I've been sounding this entire time. All this time I've been telling myself I don't have enough experience, I'm not qualified, I'm not capable. And it took her sharing that with me to help me realize that I have the experience. I've been doing this all this time. I just didn't know that that's what I was doing. And so that conversation out loud caused me to realize how dumb and how ridiculous the conversation that I've been having with myself has been. And you need somebody less like that, that's going to make you realize how ridiculous you sound and make you realize how meaningless these conversations that we've been having with these voices and the fact that we've been entertaining these voices have been. And so you need somebody that's going to be able to help you realize the ridiculousness of the conversation. So you need somebody that's going to be able to do that. You need someone that's going to have your best interest at heart, even when you don't have your best interest at heart. Right? The voices will tell us that enough is enough. The voices will tell us not to work towards our goals. The voices will tell us to give up after 6 months. It's not working. After 7 months, after 9 months, after a year, this thing is not working. Right? And we will give up on our own selves and give up on our own dreams. And we need that person who's going to kick us in the butt, and say, listen, there are people that need your vision to be built. They need your voice. They need your skill set. You need to have someone that when you feel down and out, that's going to say, what are you doing? That's going to hem you up. That's going to rough you up and throw you against the wall and say, listen, get it together. A lot of times we don't want that. We don't want to be told the truth. We don't want to be told to get it together. And especially in this time where everyone is overly sensitive about everything. The time where everyone is overly sensitive about everything, you need someone to rough us up. We need someone to tell us, listen, stop being ridiculous. You need someone that's going to come and tell you to get out of bed. That's going to push you out of bed, tell you to put in your clothes, tell you to get out there and get working. Right? When you don't feel like building and you feel like this is like, I'm just too tired. Tired of what? Enough is enough. You don't have time to waste. Get it together. Start writing, start working, start building, start doing what you need to do. Right? We need somebody that's going to do that. Someone that's going to keep us accountable. Right? Someone that's going to keep us accountable, that's going to keep us on our toes, that's going to push us when we don't want to be pushed. On the days where we feel overwhelmed, because this morning, man, me and Rejection had this conversation, and I think Rejection is right. And they'll slap you upside your head and say, listen, you don't have time to entertain that. You got to get going. You got to get moving. You need somebody that's going to do that. That's going to remind you of your goals. That's going to remind you, listen, didn't you say that by the end of the year you want to have this done? All right, you got 6 more months. All right, you got 3 more months. All right, you got 2 more months. All right, how's it going? It's been a week. Where are you with that? How far have you gotten with that? Why hasn't this been done? We need somebody to do that. Also, when you have a confidant, sometimes seeing them work, seeing them move, seeing them do what they do will be enough to encourage and motivate you. Having someone that is also working towards goals, that's also moving in building their vision. That's why whoever you have as a confidant has to be someone that's going to add value to you, and not subtract value from you. Whoever you have as a confidant has to be moving. They have to be someone that is working towards a goal, that's progressing, not someone that is lazy, not someone that has no ambition, not someone who has no sense of purpose, not someone who's always going to be asking you for a handout, but someone who also has a goal, who also is moving in the direction of building their vision, because sometimes seeing them move will get you moving. Right? You have the goal that you want to accomplish, and because you see them working towards their goals, and you know what their own struggles are as well, right? You know what their challenges are, you know what their battles are, and it becomes encouraging to see them press through their challenges, push through their voices, push through their problems to work towards their goals. And if they can do it, I can do it too. Right? Sometimes you need someone that's going to be in lockstep with you. That's going to be, listen, they're building, and so I need to build. And they're moving. Oh man, you got this done today, man. I gotta get going on this. When you have someone who is like that, that's going to keep you on your toes, that's going to be moving as you're moving, you don't want to be left behind, and you don't feel like you're alone, right? We're all, as leaders, working through navigating the unknown. And so to see someone else navigate through their unknowns and take on the challenges will sometimes is what is all you need to help you to get going. Right? Some of the greatest motivations that we get, right, is watching someone overcome. watching someone overcome their challenges, watching someone overcome their issues, right? We all like the overcoming the stories of the underdog. We all like the stories of watching individuals who are able to overcome um the hardships of life. And so when you have a confidant who is that person who motivates you, whose life you can see to be that is encouraging to you, that's just sometimes that's just enough to spark your fire. So we all need somebody that's going to do that. Someone who has your best interest at heart. Someone who's going to keep you accountable. Someone who's going to add value to you. Many times we get connected to people who don't have any goals, who don't have any dreams, and they become draining to us. Right? They become someone who pulls us down, who weighs us down. They become a burden. But when you have the right people around you, they add value to you. So that's another huge aspect that I want us to recognize and to look at. And sometimes you need the confidant. When you have a confidant, they help you take your mind off of the stresses in your life. See, someone that you have as a confidant, someone that's going to be that you can trust and you can depend on. Sometimes they're the ones that help you help you to enjoy being you. Right? They're the ones. They're those individuals that will help you to laugh, that will help you to relax, that help you to de-stress, right? Because we're all battling with the voice with voices, we're all battling with challenges and struggles while trying to lead. We're dealing with our mistakes, and sometimes you need somebody that's just going to help you to relax. That's going to help you to realize, all right, you're overworking yourself. Take a break. So that confidant has to play dual roles. They have to be able to motivate you when you're not working hard enough, and they have to help you pull back when you're overworking. We all need that one person that's going to say, all right, you're doing too much. All right, you I know that you're trying to accomplish, you're trying to get to where you're going, but it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so when you feel like sprinting, they're the ones that are watching you and can help you pull back. Right? Because our confidants care about us. They're individuals that care about us and they have our best interests. They're always thinking about our well-being. When you play that role of being a confidant, you have that responsibility of caring about the well-being of someone else. And so they may not recognize when they're doing things that are damaging to themselves, but you will recognize it. You'll recognize when their mood is off, when their attitude is shifted, and you say, all right, let's take a moment. All right, maybe let's go get something to eat. Maybe we need to go watch a movie. Maybe you need a break from this because it's becoming too much for you, and it's changing your behavior. That confidant will always recognize that and will always help you to bring in the reins and say, all right, I get it. You're feeling burdened. You're feeling tired. Let's do something different. Let's go bowling. Let's go to a movie. Let's play some pool. Let's do something different. And that will help you to be balanced. It'll help you to be balanced. And so you know when to work, you know when to drive, you know when to pull back, you know when to de-stress. Sometimes the voices in our head will tell us the most ridiculous things, and you need someone that's going to help you laugh about it. Someone that's gonna say, really? That's what you think? And help you laugh about the things that we are stressed out about. Because sometimes we develop a perspective where everything becomes an emergency, right? As leaders, sometimes when you're building and you're growing, everything seems like an emergency all of a sudden. Everything has to be done. Everything is priority. Everything it has a deadline, an immediate deadline. And someone who is a confidant to you can help you to put things into perspective and say, all right, you're at a 10, let's bring it to a 3, and help you to kind of pull back and de-stress. And we need somebody, because we have to enjoy ourselves, right? One thing that I've come to realize is that leadership should never be a burden. Whatever vision that God has given you, whatever idea God has given you, whatever ministry God has given you, He never gave it to you to be a burden. He never gave it to you to be a stressor. I remember having a conversation with someone, and I was explaining to them that, you know, we tend to think that we tend to look at God as being someone who just uses us, right? We always talk about God, use me, use me, use me. But God is not a slave master. God is not just using you to take advantage of you and then you die. That's not what God's intent. Ultimately, the desire is that you will prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers. That's the Bible, right? Paul said, I desire that you would prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers. And so God's desire is to see our souls prosper. So whatever goal He gave you, whatever vision He gave you, whatever ministry He gave you, whatever nonprofit idea, whatever business idea He gave you, it was not designed to be something that is a burden. It's designed to be something that you can build and enjoy building. And so every now and again, we need someone that's going to help us to remember that. That's going to help us to enjoy being ourselves. Yeah, I get it that you're a leader. I get it that you're a minister. I get it that you're a CEO. I get it that you're a pastor. I get that you're a prophet. I get that you're an apostle. I get that you're founder, that you're executive director. But guess what? That's not just who you are. You're still you. You're still Asha. You're still Letitia. You're still Gina. You're still Colin. You're still Karen, right? And they'll be the ones to help you to recognize that and really enjoy life and enjoy being you. And so these are some of the important things that we need to recognize as to why we need confidence and why we need someone that we can depend on, someone we can trust. Because life can be overwhelming. Life will beat you up. This leadership journey you'll have bumps and bruises, right? Because again, you're navigating in the dark, you're learning new terrain. And so there are sometimes where you'll step in the pits. There's sometimes where you'll bump into the wall, you'll hit a rock, right? And so you have to have people around you that are going to be able to help you to recognize, don't be stressed about this thing. It's going to get done. This project is going to get done. This idea that you have is going to get done. I know it seems like it's impossible. There are moments where you feel scared. There are moments where you feel like you're not enough. There are moments where you feel like you can't do it, right? They'll be the ones that'll help you to recognize and remember what you're trying to accomplish, where you're trying to go, and who you are, and help you to relax. We all need someone that's going to help us laugh. Laughter is one of the greatest forms of medicine. We need someone that's going to be able to talk us out of the conference calls of negativity, because we all deal with the conferences of negativity. I was watching a commercial, I think it was a Zillow commercial, and this lady was talking about buying a house. She wanted to buy a house, and she stepped into a conference room, and it was all different versions of herself. She was like, cheerful me, what do you think? Frugal me, what do you think? Overexcited me, what do you think? And she was having a conference with herself about making the decision to buy a house. And many of us, that's how we are. We're constantly sitting in meetings, mental internal meetings with ourselves, with our voices. And you need that confidant that's going to say, all right, meeting adjourned. Enough is enough. Now you don't need to listen to this. You need to listen to this. You need to believe this. You need to tune this out. You need to grab a hold to this. You need to remember this. And when you have that person, you have that individual, that confidant that is there for you, that will be open and honest with you, ultimately it puts you in that position to accelerate. That scripture that I said earlier is so powerful, because if one can chase 1,000 and two can chase 10,000, that's a 10. That's a 10. 10 times a 10x in a 10x effect, right? 1,000 versus 10,000. That means that the productivity, the multiplication is 10 times when you have someone with you. And so a lot of times we operate at a deficit because we're trying to do things by ourselves. We're trying to figure it out on our own. We're trying to hide the voices that we're dealing with. But when you have somebody that is a confidant, they will help you to overcome those voices, and they will help to multiply your progress. And so I want to leave that with you tonight, because I think it's such an important factor, it's such an important tool that we need to know, that you have to have somebody that you can talk to, someone that you can trust, someone that's going to be there for you. And when you have that, you put yourself in a position to overcome the voices that are in your head. And so I hope that is helpful. I hope you're able to get something from that. I hope that you can find a confidence, that God will give you an individual. You don't need multiple people. You just need one. You just need one person. And I pray that God, if he has not already given that to you, that God will provide you with a confidant that will help you in your leadership journey, that will help you to grow, that'll help you to recognize when you're having an impact, even when you don't feel like you're having an impact. And so one way that we can overcome the voices in our head, have a confidant. Share what the voices are telling you, and help them to silence those voices and to bring them down. And so I want to leave that with you. I hope you all are able to glean something from this, to take something from it. Like I said, for the next few weeks, we're going to be challenging the voices. We're going to be talking about strategies and ways that we can be able to overcome when the voices in our head are speaking to us. Right? Last week we talked about me versus me. When the old me wants to react, your confidant will say, "All right, bring it back in." Right? Sometimes you need the confidant to help you to tame the old you down. That will be all right, wild tiger. Let's bring it down. That'll keep the old you in the cage. So we're continuing to talk about ways that we can overcome, because again, I want us to be able to go into 2022 with selective hearing, where we're silencing the voices of negativity. We're only hearing the voices of positivity, the voice of God, the voice of encouragement, the voice of vision and of purpose. And so tune in next week. Like I said, I'm excited because my beautiful, lovely, adoring wife, who is my confidant, right? Who is the person that I can go to about the voices in my head, who always puts me in check. She'll be joining me. She's going to help to give some insight on different strategies that we can do. I shared earlier, she's a certified CBT coach. She's a prophetic life coach. And so she's going to give us some great insight on how we can overcome some of the challenges of the voices that we're dealing with. And so tell somebody, tune in next week. It's going to be a great conversation. And then after that, we're going to have some other guests that's going to join me and help us to give us some new ideas and some insight on how we can be able to go into 2022 in a more stronger, intentional way. And so with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all. I love you all. I thank you for your time. I pray that you will have a blessed week, and that you will help that this will help you to be encouraged throughout the week. I encourage you to be strong, that you can be able to, that you're able, more than capable of, is what I'm trying to say. That you're more than capable of overcoming the voices in your head. You're more than capable then to enact your vision and to bring your vision and your dreams to life. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, share this with somebody. Let them watch the replay. help them. Ultimately, we're trying to serve others and help them to overcome as well. And so I hope to see you all next week. I hope that you all have a blessed week this week. Thank you so much for tuning into Leadership Conversations. We will talk again next week. God bless.